All right. Okay. Did I stop sharing my screen? It's in presenting mode. Okay. Right. Mm, Okay. So in previous session, what we have discussed is about course, what and all I'm covering. So in the entire course, what all the topics that we are going to cover. DevOps, most of the things is related to DevOps. DevSecOps is bit different. Security related to the code security, meaning we check the code qualities, and if it is passing, then only we will start building the code. I mean, start pushing the code to Artifactory or somewhere. So during that process, we will do the during building process, we do the code quality admit. Okay, so we have one second. It's better. Let me zoom it. So let's understand the primary topics. Okay, so why we have to switch to DevOps? What is the need? And before you talk about actual DevOps, what are its main roles and responsibilities? Without understanding of what you do or what exactly the one that you study or learn or practice, without actual application of what you are learning, there is no meaning of learning itself. So let's understand what exactly DevOps do, what kind of roles and responsibilities does it do, and then we will switch to uh, the process related stuff. Okay, so coming to roles and responsibilities. One second. Okay, so before I go to role, I mean actual DevOps, what is DevOps, why is it needed, and all. So, what sort of solutions does DevOps people solve? What kind of solutions? So, if you ask me, like way in 2016, 2015, when I started understanding of what DevOps is, learning what DevOps is, and all, I started as a mainframe engineer. Okay, so I initially started as a mainframe engineer, which is nowhere related to DevOps, and it's completely COBOL language where you see the English level kind of programming. I have no idea, but I sort of started with very basic stuff. So that is how I started. So during that time, what was DevOps is all about the CI/CD, only CI/CD. CI/CD in the sense only we talk about taking the code, building the code, and we release the code or deploy the code through Jenkins. There was no much big tools involved, not big of automations, no much process related enhancements. There was nothing as such when I started way 2015, 2016, around that time. But recently, after COVID or pre-COVID or post-COVID, DevOps has evolved in various ways. Okay, people has started including everything apart from development to DevOps, development and data engineering. Leaving those two topics, everyone started pushing everything to DevOps team. So that is how DevOps have been changing the strategy of entire projects. Means like if there is some issue, okay, call to DevOps. So why this, why every project has started including DevOps everywhere? Just a minute, just a minute. Sorry, I'm back. Okay, so why people have started using DevOps everywhere? What is the need? So that is where people started adding everything. So now it has been group of many things, and people expect you to learn everything. or at least have some good idea of what it is. So that is what people are expecting in interviews, in projects, in your resume. Okay, so let's see what and all it solves, what and all a DevOps guy will solve. So first thing is um, continuous integration and continuous delivery, maybe deployment. So both are two different topics. We will discuss more on that. So when I talk about DevOps and its overview, but for now, let's see what exactly this particular DevOps guy can solve. Okay, so first thing is CI/CD. So anything, any process related things around that, so he will manage. So what does that CI/CD mean? Continuous integration, continuous delivery, and continuous deployment involves taking the raw code written by one developer, scanning the code, building the code. During the build process, we scan the code for checking the quality of the code. So if you don't write code if the developer doesn't write the quality code, then you are not building a right application. That application will have lot of flaws, too many issues, uh, it will get slow down. So there are a lot of things that performance related stuff, things that we have to discuss. So there will be a lot of things and it will be easily vulnerable, means easily someone can hack it. So at early stages only we have to see all those things. So that is where we have kept a scanning tool there. There could be many tools, Veracode, SonarQube, we have Sneak, we have Code Quality. Yeah, these three tools are buzzing around. But SonarQube is very much standard. People are using very much standard, and we have Clockwork as well, but that is a complete different ball game. But talking about continuous integration and continuous delivery, we take the code, build the code, do code quality check. If it is met, if it is met with the thresholds, then we will release the code into any of the repository artifact storage. Means you cannot take the raw code and deploy it. So we have to package it. See, it is very simple. If you have Windows machine, if you want to install any VLC player or any software, what you do, you go for any that particular website, download the binary, do double click, next. What do you think if I give the plain code of VLC player which is written in some language, how do you create an application out of it? So you don't know, right? You don't know, no one knows it. So you just have to, it will be like easily double click, next, that easy it should be. So to create such packages we have to build it. Okay, we have to build the code, raw code, where we get the output. So that is where we come into picture, where developers responsibility is to write the quality code and give it on the source code management tool. We as a DevOps engineer take that, build it, create a package, store it somewhere. So that's CI/CD part, delivery part. Then we have deployment, where we take from the artifact storage tool and we deploy it on any of the environments, dev, staging, production, integration kind of environments. Okay, so the first thing that I talked about is, okay, so the first thing that I talked about is CI/CD, where we have seen a high level of what implementation of uh, pipelines around it, like CI/CD basic things. So this is one role and this is one responsibility of our DevOps. As DevOps engineer, we take care of that, building the code, taking the code from source code management tool, building the code, creating an artifact, keeping it for future use, keep it somewhere to test it. So that is the first part. So to create that kind of art, it is not very straightforward. It is not what I say it that much easy. It was not that easy. So we have to create an process to that. So we take care of that. We as a DevOps engineer take care of that process. One second. I'll just mute. Yeah. Guess someone want to admit. Okay. Where are we? Okay, so we take care of that CI/CD part, the basic stuff, and we the process related things, where we as a DevOps engineers provide branching strategies to how exactly. See, every developer has their own code, and if everyone without testing or without proper proper quality code or proper working code, if they push everything and if something breaks, to identify who broke the code, it is very hard. So we put branching strategies around it, which is again an interview question. This is a definite interview question. What kind of branching strategies you guys follow in your project? So that is where people will ask. So you have to understand that process, and based on the process you have to create that automation. So that is where a DevOps engineer comes into picture, where we take care of CI/CD and process related. So first thing is CI/CD. Second thing is infrastructure as a code. So the one that I talked about, after delivery, after you put your package or artifact into one place, you have to deploy it to test that application, right? You have to deploy it on some server, which we call it as development environment, staging environment, or test environment, or UAT environment. Environments are nothing but group of servers meant to do something. So production is more of to expose your application to the end user. Development and staging is more of for testing environments. So these are nothing but a group of servers, provided there are some changes, configuration changes, the routing changes, DNS changes will be there, that we will keep it aside. So on a plain terms, infrastructure is as a code is nothing but managing your infrastructure, like development environment, staging environment, production, and other integration environments kind of. So what does that consist of? Again, servers. What how do you create the servers? By any cloud or on premises, private cloud, public cloud, anything. So coming to that IAC, we have to talk about infrastructure, maybe cloud, AWS. So how do you do that? By using Terraform. So you can do it from the UI as well, but on a large scale at organization level, infrastructure as a code tool is a must tool, because when you have multiple people working on the same project, you cannot track people who is changing from the UI. Everyone will have access and everyone will change whatever they want, and there won't be any track. So to have a track of everything, to keep that book alive, history book alive, so we go for infrastructure as a code, where whatever we change on the infrastructure will have a track. Okay, so that is where infrastructure as a code comes into picture. With that we will cover Terraform. Okay, so that is one part of DevOps. Now coming to monitoring and logging, this is altogether a separate topic, where people call it as site reliability engineer. Have you heard of site reliability engineer? So site reliability engineer is a kind of guy, or maybe cloud ops guy, or site reliability engineer is a guy who manages the infrastructure and monitoring and logging. His primary role would be monitoring the application. So the monitoring types will be couple of things. One is application monitoring, second one is infrastructure monitoring, and during that infrastructure and application monitoring, he has to manage alert management. Alerts means we get alerts if something goes wrong in the infrastructure. We will be raised an alarm, we have to accept it and we have to work on it. So that is where site reliability engineer and monitoring and logging goes off. So again, application monitoring and infra monitoring will have logging as well. Did someone message? No. Okay. uh, okay, monitoring and logging, that is where people uh, see the infrastructure graphs, application graphs, and if something goes wrong, they can track it from the logging stack, where we can call it as ELK stack, or any Splunk tool for logging, application loggings, logs and all, they can see from there. So that is a part of, again, this is again a part of our DevOps activities. Earlier we used to have an operations team who used to manage So again, operations team is divided into the monitoring team and IT infrastructure. So they used to manage it separately. Now, since dev and development and operations comes together, so that came as a burden to us only. So now the topics that we have under DevOps is, one is CI/CD, second one is infrastructure, and the third one is monitoring and logging. Okay. Now, where does this collaboration and communication comes into picture? Now, I was talking about development, operations, and all. So now, collaboration comes where there are multiple teams involved between us. Okay, so around we will be sitting in the middle, and we are surrounded by development team, testing team, release management team, maybe product engineers or product owners. Everyone will be sitting around us and they will be asking us, so we are answerable to everyone. Okay, if it is application issue is answerable by developers. If anything related to the infrastructure or CI/CD or any process related or any automation failures or any automations needed, we are responsible. So to keep that things alive between all the teams, to keep the communication alive, to keep the collaboration interactive, so we as a DevOps engineer have to have good understanding of the process, good understanding of technicalities, so that we can explain even non-technical person. Like, if you ask me, non-technical person, so managers, product engineers, product owners, or scrum masters, so these people will have a high level of what application is and the product related stuff, but not technicalities, to explain them in their own understanding language. Even if you ask me, developers know most of the coding part, but they don't know what process is or what automation we have and why each of these jobs or automations are failing. So we should be in a good position to explain things to them. Okay, so to explain things in the way they understand it. Okay, so that is where communication and collaboration is very much important. Okay, we should be, again, it should be, since we are in a professional zone, we have to talk about things that actually matter, and things that doesn't matter we have to skip it aside, or we have to prioritize whatever is needed. So rest and all, we should keep it aside. So we have to define the reasons as well. It is not like I know this topic, so I'll put it on priority one. It's not like that. It depends on the ask from the managers or from the development team. So in the very first session, like I said, we as a DevOps engineer, our clients are developers, developers, testers, and any team who is involved with us. Those are all our clients, not the exact end customers. End customers can be managed by different team. Again, there is very less chances of we as a DevOps engineer connect to the customers. Okay, when we can connect is if you are working for any cloud based companies, right, who is providing public cloud like AWS, GCP, Google, Azure. If you work for that companies and you work for the cloud ops support or cloud engineer role, so at that time, so people who are consuming AWS services or GCP services, if something goes wrong from their end and they are clueless of what issue that is, what they will do is they will contact to the AWS team. At the time, you as a cloud engineer from Amazon, or if you are working for Amazon, you as a cloud engineer, you have to help them. So at that time, you are directly interacting with the end customer. Not everyone will have that chance. Only if you are working for those cloud based projects, then only you will get. Okay, that is the reason why communication and collaboration is very important for a DevOps engineer. Be it internal customers, be it external customers, we should be very precise and clean. Next is security implementation. So I was talking about DevSecOps, right? So security implementation comes in. So these days security has been again, like I said, it is a new addition to that. Earlier DevOps was more of CI/CD. Next, cloud came into picture. After cloud, people started talking about infrastructure as a code, and then people started as Docker. I mean containerization, where Kubernetes came into picture, and then now people are calling DevSecOps. So security comes everywhere. So where, like I said, in the code itself, we are doing SonarQube. So after that, we create images. Like we create, if you are working on cloud, you will create application, I mean operating system. So OS image templates. We have to scan that by using some tools. If you are working on Docker, you have to scan the Docker image whether it is having proper security or not. So that is also one security. And then you can actually scan your Terraform code, your Ansible code, whether it is meeting the market, the security standards. So this is where security comes into picture. And infrastructure security, where if you take any server, or if you take any container, or if you take anything in the environment specific area like dev, staging, production, so we have to ensure that it is meeting all the organization compliances in the sense, we have to make it with 100% compliance, means like we have to follow all the security parameters of organization. So we have to install security policies, we have to ensure SE Linux, security enhanced Linux, for Linux servers. So we have to implement that. So sometimes we will be collaborating with the security team, sometimes we will be the one who is going to manage that as well. So that is where security implementation comes into picture. Then we have automation of repetitive tasks. This is also one area where we concentrate more. The manual task, any manual task around our process, if it is coming more than twice, then we have to be in a mindset of automating it. Okay, so that is how a DevOps engineer should think about. So anything around us, anything, if you are doing more than twice, then it should be automated. So that mentality bring that culture should be there in DevOps team. Okay, so then performance optimization. So performance optimization, cost optimization, so these are all subjective topics, which means when you talk about this, so you have to improve the performance, you have to improve the cost of, you have to improve the cost, means like you have to make sure that based on the analysis of your current setup and amount of customers you are serving. Let's say you have some 100 CPUs of servers with 100 GB of RAM and 5 TB of data, 5 TB of hard disk, and you are serving some 1000 customers. So if you see on a whole, for 1000 customers you don't need 100 CPUs, you don't need 5 TB of data. Again, data could be subject to, again, the amount of what kind of data you are dealing, that matters. But again, let's not talk about data. But if you talk about CPUs, if you talk about RAM, for serving 1000 customers you don't need this many. You can hardly need 10 CPUs or 15 CPUs, and maybe 32 GB RAM should be good enough to serve that particular 1000 people load. But if you are giving more than what it is required, then you are wasting the company resources, right? That is where you start to optimize the infrastructure based on the use cases. So that is where we implement auto scalings, the Kubernetes scalings, or maybe serverless, where we don't need, based on the request we are going to pay instead of paying for the usage, right? So that is where usage, in the sense, like whenever you spin up your EC2 machine, whether it is used or not, you are going to pay some money. EC2 machine is nothing but one Linux server, one kind of machine, Windows machine, or kind of one operating system you will get. So that is where performance optimization comes into picture. You have to do the tunings of your existing applications based on the application load, based on the graphs that you see from the monitorings. You can start optimizing the cost of your overall budget. So that is where we, as a DevOps engineer, help to use whatever we need and release the unwanted things. That will save lot of money to the project. Then we have configuration management, where when you are managing multiple servers, right, like you have 100 servers or 200 servers or 500,000, how will you manage? You cannot log in into each machine and do all the stuff that every asshole will ask us to do. That's not the way. That is a donkey work. We cannot do that, right? We have to do something. We are engineers, so we have to implement something very innovative or creative way, or at least not the donkey work, right? Not going into the each machine, do that stuff. So we as a DevOps engineer should be bit creative to use open source tools and minimize our manual tasks. That is where configuration comes into picture, configuration management. So we manage a lot of servers, lot of environments, so by using Ansible or Chef or Puppet. So that is where configuration comes into picture, where we manage these many things. Okay, so then last thing, and again this is not the limitations. Limitations can be changed, limitations can be improved, or the subject can go beyond whatever I'm saying in next coming years. But to the date, whatever I have seen, whatever I have experienced, I have written everything on my own. Okay, so if you ask me about incident management and troubleshooting, this is where bit of support task comes into picture, where a lot of people gets involved, like maybe developers, testers. Whenever they see build failures, or whenever they need new requirement, or whenever they want deployment activities, or whenever they want some particular task to be done or automated, they will come up with the tickets, which means Jira tickets or service there are service nows, or there are a couple of ticketing tools, right? So they will come up with those remedy, so BMS remedy. So there are a couple of tools where they come up with the tickets, so that we can work on that. Everything is documented in the ticket, and we work on that, and then we will apply those changes. Okay, so that is where incident management comes into picture, and troubleshooting. Whenever there is issue, we will work on that, and then we will try to close the ticket. So on a high level, this is what the roles and responsibilities of a DevOps engineer will work. Okay, on a daily basis. These, apart from this, I have never worked on anything else, because I covered everything. So major of the activities are covered here, nothing more, nothing less. Okay, so any questions so far? If you don't have any questions, I will shift to another topic, but I'll give a 1 minute of break. If you have any questions, do let me know. I'll stop sharing my screen. Any questions, any doubts?
Yeah, hi, Kalle.
Yeah, yes, yes.
Uh, you said like that once a developer push the code into the GitHub or any source code management,
Mm-hmm.
uh, from there we will take the code and we will build the code and generate the artifact. We'll push into the any repository, right?
Yes, correct,
From there we will deploy into the any server.
correct.
It is called as continuous deployment, right?
Yeah, taking from the artifact repository tool and deploying it on the server is considered as deployment. Delivery is something where you release or you create the artifact and put it in the artifact repository, means storage. That is considered as delivery.
Okay, okay. Yeah, that's what I had.
Yeah,
Thank you.
we'll talk more about that. I
Yeah,
haven't
yeah.
gone there. We'll talk more.
Okay, yeah. Thank you.
Okay. S- Sorry. Okay, sorry. Let me resume. Okay, so understanding of different domains. Okay, this is bit of more of what you see from the Naukri perspective, right? So what kind of role, what kind of uh, responsibility, like I discussed a while back. So when people say I need a DevOps engineer for my team, what does that mean? What does that exactly mean? So that particular thing can have lot of things, or very minimal things. uh, so even companies have been segregated, I mean, companies have been segregating the positions uh, based on the job requirements. So when they say DevOps engineer, they might need CI/CD, automations, Jenkins, Docker, are pretty much uh, the Linux machines, not the cloud and all, but very much of CI/CD stuff. Okay, so not very specific to each and every tool, but whenever they say plain DevOps engineer we want, then it is more of the CI/CD stuff, and then something related to release management, then a little bit of cloud. I am not here to actually define that this won't be there, this will be there. That is subjective to each project. Project requirements might change or might have a different areas, but to my knowledge or to my experience, whatever I have seen the outside world, so what happens is whenever they say DevOps engineer, they might need more of, means like 60 to 70% of CI/CD, like Jenkins, Docker, Maven, or any build tool, one source code management tool, one artifact management tool, and then bit of, not exactly completely, but they need some one who can see. At least if you talk about infrastructure, we have one thing is environments, the other thing we want to discuss is DevOps related infrastructure. DevOps related, which means whenever you install Jenkins, whenever you install SonarQube, whenever you install Nexus, or whenever you install Jira as well, so you need some server, right? So that server is also managed by us only. We as a DevOps engineer should maintain our infrastructure. Though you don't manage the proper infrastructure of dev, staging and production, but you will be managing this, which needs some knowledge of Linux, Windows, or whatever tool that whatever server they are installing. Preferably 70 to 80% will be Linux. So should be Linux should be good enough to know. Okay, so that is what this particular role need. Okay, so then is site reliability engineer, which is more of infrastructure monitoring, alert management, the automation stuff, incident management, capacity planning. So these are the things that focus areas of SRE. And we have release manager. The release manager is also considered as a DevOps engineer, but uh, release manager not exactly involves on the CI/CD stuff, but he will be managing the release. So there are two types of things. One is uh, deployments is segregated, not exactly deployments. Deployment is a different word, but the release can be differentiated in two ways. One is you do the deployment, which whenever I say deployment, you are deploying on the server, and from there you are exposing your service to the external user. But if you talk about normal release, you don't have to deploy the application onto the server. You are just releasing your artifact into one place, and from there your end user will take it and install it, something like Play Store. So Play Store, you will just release it into your application to the Play Store. It is the end user who downloads it and installs it. You are not installing in your server and exposing. So whenever you see facebook.com, whenever you go for facebook.com, what does this tell? They are running the Facebook application in one server, preferably Linux, and we are accessing that from the website of my laptop, means from my Chrome browser. But if you see Facebook as an application on your mobile, you are going to your Play Store or App Store and you are downloading it and you are installing it in your mobile, which is what your infrastructure, which is your mobile, is having that. So there are two things. One is releasing. So that releasing part is releasing to the Play Store is what release part is. The other part of release is deployment, where you actually deploy it on the proper server. Okay, so two different things, remember it. Very useful, very understandable and very useful. Okay, so release manager is more of basic understanding of the release process, agile, scrum, kanban, and then CI/CD tools, like the process related, not exactly technical terms, but the flow of infra pipeline, build pipeline, deployment pipeline, and automations around it. So process related automations. Okay, so these are basic things that a release manager need. And there are automation things. So where this automation engineer is more towards the companies like chip based companies or semiconductor companies or any hardware related companies. Okay, so I have seen like Nvidia or ARM, uh, AMD, MediaTek, Qualcomm, Samsung. So all these companies need, they will market, or they will put their requirements as, we need DevOps automation engineer or DevOps engineer slash automation. Whenever they say like that, they need CI/CD plus automation, which is 50-50%. Who has worked 50% on the CI/CD and 50% on the automations like Bash scripting, Python scripting. Okay, so very much of this Bash and Python. So they'll look they, even though they, even if you if they conduct 1 hour of interview, they'll take 30 to 40 minutes for automations itself, and then 40 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes for CI/CD stuff. Okay, so that is where automation comes into picture, and people should be uh, weighing the both, managing the both. You cannot say that I know only Python, I am a Python developer, but I still want to get into it. No, you can try, but if you don't understand the CI/CD stuff, then again you are rejected. They will ask, you cannot, if you cannot answer basic things, then there is no point of going into coding round as well. They will ask a few coding rounds, but again they will reject by saying this guy does not have CI/CD experience. If you keep more experience like 5 years, 6 years, 4 plus, if you are 2 3, then yeah, they will consider. Okay, IAC engineer, they'll call it as infra engineer. So people are asking this. Recently I've seen a couple of openings in LinkedIn and even in some big companies. So infrastructure engineer, infra as a code is not the one. Infra engineer. Okay, infra engineer is more of cloud. So they will specifically put focus on cloud, Terraform, Ansible, Archef, and one cloud services, and then then any automations around it. Okay, you will be managing more of what is it? Did I miss something? Has anyone managed? Okay, they will be asking more of in infrastructure level. Okay, so our automations around it, very specific to cloud. Okay, so that is what we call it as infra engineer. So that is, again, like I said, it is more of cloud specific, not on premises. Very less opportunities will be there on premises, because people have moved to cloud. Most of the thing, 60 to 70% of the market has moved to cloud. Okay, companies. Then we have cloud specific role. So this role primarily acts, this role and this role is very much similar. Okay, so people in cloud engineer works on AWS, networking, automation, and then they should deploy the applications, they should manage the environments, they are responsible for setting up the environments, cleaning up the activities, cleaning up the old servers if there is any, cost optimization. Everything comes under cloud engineer. Okay, now we have, oh, lot of roles. Now we have DevSecOps engineer, like I said, DevOps engineer with security in this sense. code security that covers in CI/CD. Then we have artifact security, or we can use check marks, SAST and DAST testing, static application security testing, dynamic application security testing. So at least you will be involving under SAST application, static application security testing, where we can use check marks, or OZAP, okay, ZAP security tool, to check the vulnerabilities around it. So that is one tool. Then we have Trivi or Snyk to scan your code, to scan your images, Docker images, or you can use it for Packer scan. I mean Amazon machine image scanning. Okay, so that is where DevSecApp engineer, and also you will be using one tool for scanning your infrastructure as a code, like Terraform or Ansible configuration code, all these things, whether that is meeting the standards or not. Okay, so that is where these are the practices where DevSecApp's security involves. Okay, cloud security. Then we have build and release engineer. This is completely CI/CD stuff. Build and release, like I said, only they will be involving till releasing the application to the either it is the end user, or it is in the place where we can store those artifacts. Okay, deployment is very much less involved here, so people will be managing CA Jenkins, build tool, or any automations around it. Again, CI/CD pipeline engineer, build and release, DevOps engineer are very much similar, so people might call different names, but again the role is very specific. Okay, now people are calling as a containerization engineer or Kubernetes engineer. Okay, so I have seen very less. So in India this is not popular yet, because it is a tongue twister to people. So but if you see abroad opportunities, so people directly asking Kubernetes, we need Kubernetes engineer or containerization engineer. So here we involve more on Docker, Kubernetes, deploying the application on Kubernetes using Helm, Argo CD, on cloud platforms. Okay, so this particular thing revolves around that. And then OBS, observability engineer, observability stack. Okay, OBS means observability stack, where people start this is kind of support role, where your main focus will be on particular support, monitoring kind of thing, support role, where you have to manage your alerts. You will be getting the alerts, you have to acknowledge it, you have to see, analyze, and then provide solution, fix it, close it. If it is a major production issue, then you have to fix it temporarily, read the do the root cause analysis, RCA process, provide solutions, and create a ticket for permanent fix. So that is where the monitoring and observability engineer will do. Platform engineer is more of cloud specific. If you see cloud engineer and platform engineer, so platform is nothing but the one who manages the environments. It could be DevOps environment, or the proper developer environments, dev, staging, production. So one who manages that, including AWS or any cloud infrastructure as a code, like Terraform, automation, security. So these are the guys who will manage the platform. So they will onboard the new applications into their platform, so that they can deploy it, they can consume the platform and deploy their application and expose it to the end user. Okay, so DevOps architect, this guy who has 10 plus or 12 plus years experience, is responsible to set up the entire CI/CD, everything for a project. He can architect, or if there is any existing setup, he is the one who should be responsible for enhancing it. Okay, so this guy is that guy. And then configuration management engineer, again cloud engineer, then platform engineer, configuration management engineer, or same. It is just that this particular configuration management engineer involves more on Ansible specific, I mean configuration management tools like Ansible, Chef, Puppet, or anything related to infrastructure automations, applying the security patches, rebooting or installing the basic stuff for the prerequisites for the application deployment. So anything around that he will manage it. Then network and security engineer, so this is more of networking stuff which very less we will involve very less there as a DevOps engineer, but then they will club into DevOps engineering itself. But network and security is more of managing the network policies, network firewalls, networking, setting up the entire security to a project or particular cloud infrastructure, and exposing your application securely, certificate management, cloud securities. So all those things we will be managing as a network and security engineer. So these are the couple of job roles that you'll be hearing around in the Naukri, LinkedIn, or any Indeed, or any app. If you see, majority of the roles will be like this, and the course that we are covering actually covers most of the topics. 90% will be covered, only 10% related to security compliances, network policies. Since I am not managing an organization, I even in my experience also I never worked on that much, except SC Linux activities. SC Linux is security enhanced Linux. Okay, SC Linux, so security enhanced Linux. So to make the Linux servers strong, we will harden the SC Linux. So this is some part of security that I worked on apart from the code security infrastructure. I mean the infrastructure as a code security and couple of SaaS tools. Apart from that, I did not dig deep inside this security. Apart from that, I will cover most of the things in our course. Okay, so to register, so I'll take couple more demos on Google Meet itself. I'll be posting the timings. Apart from that, you can actually register your course on www.drilldevops.com. You can go here and you can take this one, Camera Tech batch 2. So batch 1 is completed, this is batch 2. You can start registering, so that we will shift our classes to here, and you will get a notification whenever I start the class, and I'll be posting the timings, and I'll be sending the schedules, and everything will be given in the tool itself. All the course content, everything is here. Maybe I can show you around this one, www. Okay, class plus. Okay, so courses, if you see here, you will get all the content like this, all the recordings of each tool, and the material to that. Okay, so for Linux, everything will be here, including the interview questions. For each tool, I'll provide interview questions with the actual content as well. Okay, so you can trust me that if you can go through the interview questions and do whatever I say in the class, practice it at least one time, by end of the sessions, I can assure you that you can land your own job instead of getting support from the other people. Okay, so you don't need any of that support, but provided you need some practice for interviews, which I will take some mock interviews if you need. That is very optional, but again I would encourage people to take these mock interviews, because these interviews will help you to lose opportunity. That will help to reduce your losing opportunities, because you go directly and sit in the interview, and then but if you cannot tell properly, if you don't know what you have made wrong, then you can never learn. You will take at least 5 to 10 or 12 opportunities, lost opportunities, to crack the 13th one. So instead of doing that, so take mock interviews. If based on the timings you can schedule, you can contact me, I'll provide my timings, then we can sit and we can work around. Okay, so my mock interview sessions will be, once CI/CD is done, I will put the option in the group, and then after infrastructure and Ansible is done, I will take another round of mock, and then Kubernetes, and then observability stack, Argo CD and all. So that is where third mock interview will be taken. So that will cover all the topics. Final fourth mock interview will be on all those topics, which I will be covering only the things that I have given in the interview questions. Because if you go to any interview, trust me, there won't be any questions beyond this. Okay, so you can access this application on App Store, Play Store, by searching Play Store. What is this? Play Store. Where is this? Drill DevOps. You'll be having this. You can download this if you are using Android application. If you are using iOS, I have a separate steps which I can share you after some time. Okay, so that's all for today. Let me know if you have any questions. We can I can answer you all those, and then we can wind off.